and I see a helicopter. I'm like, dang, man, that helicopter, what are they doing, you know? And then all of a sudden I see a cop car coming down the 101 pretty fast. I'm like, man, they're after somebody. You know? And not even thinking, you know, it's me, you know? And even one of the DOs, he said when I was walking into court, you realize what you're facing right now, right? And I said, yeah, I'm going to prison. He goes, you realize how long you're going to prison for, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this? Then one morning he's like, I don't know why you paid for a lawyer. You're in rope court, dude.
Nobody's going to look at you and think that you've done 14 years in prison.
No.
We work with you every day, but I don't know anything about your story.
Right.
I don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are going to find out everything.
Welcome to another episode of Time Served. We have a new studio, as you can see. My name is Michael Bryant. I did 7 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections.
My name is Raquel Bryant, and I was a former corrections officer.
And we are bringing you an interview, a very special interview from our friend Mike, who did a considerable amount of time as well here in Arizona.
About 14 years.
14 years in prison, so we're not very good at interviews, so we're pretty new to this. So we're gonna try to get some practice. Since we know you and we work with you and we get to see you every day, we figured this would be a good way for us to learn and we work with you every day, but I don't know anything about your story.
Right.
I don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are going to find out everything.
Yeah,
All
well,
of it.
so I'd like to start for the audience, right, to get a little bit of background and depth. Where are you from? And tell us about, like, your childhood, growing up.
I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. My parents moved out here when I was about 8 or 9, which was kind of a weird move. You know, at that age, you don't want to leave where you're at. And then immediately got divorced right after we moved out here, which was crazy. So it was a rough start, you know, going into that. And so, yeah, my mom remarried to a really awesome guy who took on 3 kids. I have 2 other brothers, younger brothers. And he really took us on as his own, and it was cool that he did that. And I had really good normal, like, childhood, which is, you know, a lot of times you talk to people in prison and they have the worst childhoods. Like, you're like, oh my God, dude. Yeah. No wonder you're here, you know? And mine was the exact opposite, where mine, we went on vacations, we had everything we needed. Yeah. You know, the house and everything was cool. I had everything I needed to succeed in life, and all the tools and everything. My parents, they owned their own print shop, which grew into being pretty big. So I always worked, and they always kind of put us in there to work, and I learned all that industry and stuff. And they actually, at one point where they were getting ready to sell, they offered it to me and my brothers. They said, you want to take this company over? We're done. And we said no. I don't know if that would have been, you know, one of those things where you don't know.
Was it here in Phoenix?
Yeah, it was here. Okay. Yeah. So I really had everything I needed in life to succeed. I really did. All the tools. I have good work ethic, and I still carry that good work ethic because they worked like 16 hours a day. You know, I watched all that. And always instilled in us that there's no shortcuts in life, right? It's hard work is what gets you where you want to be. Yeah. And as a teenager, you're like, yeah, all right. You know, you see all these other things going on, and then I think the one thing that kind of held me back from going further is that I was in a band, and I was playing, my music was my main focus. So I did that. I was playing in bars and everything. Got introduced to some other drugs that I never did in my life while playing in the bars.
How old are you?
I'm like 18 at that point.
Okay. Are you playing guitar? What are you playing?
Yeah, I'm playing guitar. Okay. And we were playing at the bars and doing our thing, and it was pretty wild.
Yeah, what's the year? Like what time? Was it like the 60s?
This would be in like 19... Here we go, adult jokes. This would be in like 1990, I think it was. Okay. All the way to, I played from 90 to like 94. Okay. And we headlined all the bars around town and played and everything, but that all fell apart. I got my girlfriend pregnant, and it was at the worst time that you could actually get a girl pregnant. We were like in really bad shape. And at that point, I was like, okay, I need to do something with my life here. I need to like figure this out because music's not working. It's not going to pay the bills. I have a daughter now that's on the way, and I need to take care of my family. So
Was that your dream? Was to like play music and essentially was it like rock and roll? Like you were like in a rock band and wanted to like make it big. So that was your
ever since I was a kid. Like ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, but I tried it. You know, I gave it my all, and I have no regrets about that. But when she was born, I just stopped everything and I told my mom, "Hey, can I come back to work for your company?" And of course, she's like, "Mom," she's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And so I got in there and I started doing everything, sales and everything. That's when I started my venture on sales. But it was outside sales, not like what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so did that, and I was doing really good for like a long time until to the point where they were getting ready to sell it. And for some reason, things started getting rocky. My marriage was getting rocky. Things started falling apart. And if I was to look back today and say, where did things go wrong? It would have been that divorce, honest to God. Because what happened was my ex-wife took my daughter to Michigan, where all her family lived, and just decided not to come home. They went on a vacation.
How old is your daughter at this point?
6.
Okay.
And me and my daughter, like, super close.
Yeah.
I did everything. I took my daughter to the park all the time. We were very close. And so that just crushed me.
Yeah.
Like, literally crushed me. So at that point is when the downward spiral. And I started, like, really just getting into a lot of drugs, hanging out with the absolute wrong people. And then I picked up my first prison sentence because I had hit rock bottom at that point. The divorce finalized. I had my daughter, like, during the summertime and spring break, and, like, we'd alternate holidays. And so at that point, I was going down too far into drugs, and then I lost my place to live, my car. And what do we do once all that goes away?
Yeah.
Resort to crime, right? And I was never a criminal before then,
Right.
I wasn't, and never even crossed my mind to do criminal activities until I was like 30, 32. And so when I did that, I started, I was robbing homes, be blunt.
So burglary,
Yeah.
essentially, okay.
And I was doing a lot of that in really nice homes, like in Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Ahwatukee foothills and shit, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they were big, but I eventually got caught, like everyone does. And it kind of brought light to my whole situation. And I started gambling real bad at that point, too. I was going to the casino all day long, all night. I thought that was my job. When I'd run out of money, I'd go rob another home.
Yeah.
Go in the casino. And so they finally caught up to me on that. My family kind of figured out, oh, what's going on here, Because I have a pretty good way of I've always been able to function. Even if I'm on drugs, I can function.
Yeah.
Some people can't, and I would not suggest it to anybody. Like,
right.
It's
made
very
it look
few.
normal.
Yeah, there's a few percentage of the world people that can do that, and I think I'm one of those. But I'm not saying that
Right.
That's do not try to go down that path. But yeah, so everything came to light. I got put in jail or prison they gave me a 2-year sentence, and I did like 6 months in county or something.
Okay.
So I did about 1.5 years my first time.
How old are you there?
I was 33 or 34.
That's crazy to be that old.
Yeah, exactly.
And like just kind of going from like a normal life to prison.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys in prison start young, and they've been in there since they were like 18 or 19.
And even the judge said something to me that has always stuck with me. He's like, I don't know what you're doing now, but whatever you were doing before, you need to go back to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure what happened here. And, but you're going to have a rough life if you start going down this path.
Yeah.
And he wasn't lying. So, yeah, he gave me that sentence, and that was even mitigated. I did that time, and I got a lot of tickets my first time in. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I got bumped up in custody. Went to Mojave, learned a lot
What's
there.
Mojave? Is that a 4-yard?
Yeah, no, it's a 3-yard.
Is it Douglas?
Yeah, Douglas.
Is it Douglas? So, and for the audience that doesn't know, in prison, if you get in trouble, if you get a fight, get into a fight, or if you steal, or you who know, get a dirty drug test, you get a ticket, and a ticket will take away. Obviously, because you used to write tickets
all the time.
But yeah, so a ticket, usually you don't want to get them because you'll lose like visitation or commissary.
Good time.
Good time. Right, you can actually get your sentence extended longer if you keep getting tickets and stuff like that. So, so what were you getting tickets for?
Just dumb stuff like a lighter, smoking, gambling.
Yeah.
There's one that I want to talk about, but it was a pretty big one. That's what really bumped me up.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't really speak to that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, it was bad, and then but I got out of there. I got dropped back down to a 1 yard actually at Papago. They released me.
What year is this?
This was in 2005, I think I was.
Okay.
released.
Yes, you've got an OG number too then.
Yeah,
like a 1 something.
193.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I got out, and I was ready to take on the world. Like I'm like, yes, this is my second chance. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
What do you got? And I did all the right things. Everything. I was going to meetings when I got out. I had a sponsor. I was involved like with everything, and things were going good. I met this girl, plenty of fish. Stay away from that side.
It was around back then?
Yeah,
Probably.
it was free back then. Completely free. Yeah, it was a lot better. So yeah, I met this girl there, and I found out pretty quickly that she was like this undercover drinker,
Okay.
And so then slowly I started, I was drinking like non-alcoholic beers, and that switched into regular alcohol.
Oh man.
And then next thing you know, I'm drinking like a fish. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty bad. And
were you drinking because she was drinking?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I'm just trying to hang out.
And yeah.
And it was volatile, the whole thing. I mean, it's just not good when two people that drink that much.
That's the biggest thing I've ever noticed is when I see people get out of prison, like a lot of the times and I don't want to make like excuses or blame it, but a lot of the times like guys, for whatever reason, guys who've been to prison love to date crazy women.
I know.
And there's so many good women out there, but there's a lot of crazy women too. And dudes who've been to prison love to get out and date. Like I don't want to, like there's a guy who works in the office now, and if he watches this video, he dates the craziest women there is, and they've been getting him in trouble for years. And I don't want to say his name because
Does it start with an R?
It does.
Okay.
But he likes dating crazy women. A lot of guys love that and it's just so dangerous. Like they drink or they party or they like to fight or throw stuff or go out and hit the town, and like that's dangerous. Like stay home, watch a movie.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm sorry, but
no, I mean, you're exactly right, and we joke about that in prison. Like, dude, you're gonna come back because of a woman.
Yeah.
That's like the big joke in there.
And on the other side of that, though, I've seen a lot of people who get out and they do good, and it's because of a woman.
Yep.
So it really is just like
Very
the
true.
type of woman you, I guess, settle down with.
Yeah. Very, very true.
And I think a lot of it is because us that have been convicted of felonies, in our minds, we're thinking we're fucked up.
Yeah.
Obviously, somewhere. So why would we go and date a normal woman? Because she's
makes
probably not
sense.
going to want you. And I did that when I got out. It was kind of funny because I met a girl and she was completely normal. She was tall. She was beautiful. I remember going to my dad's once and he's like, "My God, you guys look like crazy, like really good together and stuff." And I could not stay with her because she was normal. She had good credit. She had a bank account. She had everything. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like,
yeah, but you look normal to the point where, like if you walk into any store in the country, like nobody's gonna look at you and think that you've done 14 years in prison.
No.
Me, on the other hand, like they might think
They're
that
gonna question it
because of my tattoos. But even I think without the tattoos, I don't know, maybe because I have like this weird like thing in my head where I feel like everybody just like knows.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Like it's like this.
It's in your head.
It's in my head, I'm sure, but
it is in our heads.
Yeah.
The tattoos do give it away, but other than that.
Yeah, if I wear a long sleeve though, I don't have anything on my face, but I still feel like people know, or I kind of give off like, and I don't speak like I've been to prison. I don't talk like that. You know what I mean? So, but anyways.
Yeah, we go after women that we think that aren't gonna accept us.
Well, it seems a lot of the times too, like the normal women like guys that
I know they do.
have been to prison, right? Like a lot of the normal women do. It's like when I first got out, I never met the person, but I went on, Tinder my first week, and I was talking to a woman who was a cop. Like she was like a police officer.
Yeah.
And she knew I had been to prison. I never met her, but still.
How did she know? You told her?
I told her,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I told her. I got out Tuesday. Or actually Friday. I got out on a Friday. But I told her, and she had like just kept messaging me back and forth. And I was like, okay. But I ended up never meeting her, and but still, it was just crazy to me that she was willing to message with somebody and talk to somebody like that. So maybe, normal ones are secretly, I don't know, maybe they're into that. I don't know.
I always stayed away, so that was one of my rules: no felonies.
Yeah.
Obviously, I broke
you
the
broke
rule.
that rule. It turned out well, though, right? You guys are a good couple, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what happened? You get out.
So I'm doing good. I get out. I start drinking again. Things are starting to slide slowly. I decide one night I'm drunk, go to the casino. I blow my whole paycheck. I'm like, oh my God. And I tell the girl I'm with, hey, can I borrow a couple $100 because I have no money at all. Like I just totally, I don't know what came over me. And she's like, what happened to your money? And I told her. And she's like, dear, I don't even want to be with you because she knew my whole backstory.
Yeah.
And she's like, get out.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, are you serious? Like I screwed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. At least you were honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I try to be honest with everything, with everyone. I hate liars. I really do. And so we kind of patched things up. I left and I moved back into my dad's and we patched things up. And then I found out that my son's mom, who I'm with now, was pregnant because I got with her right when I got out. But there were some things going on. I just didn't want to be with her, so I kind of left her. Well, in between that time, she was pregnant. And
you didn't know, or?
No, I didn't know until like the 4th or 5th month. She had told me, and I was like, I don't know if that's mine, you've been. So, I mean, to be blunt,
Yeah.
And then she just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I'm like, oh boy, this might be mine. So I better tell this girl, right? And that didn't go over too well.
Yeah.
So wait, so you told the other girl?
Yeah, the other girl. Because I was living with her.
Okay.
That was a horrible day.
And this is the girl that you were drinking with originally.
Yes.
So you ended up back living with her again.
Yep.
And then your son's mom got pregnant.
Yeah, and then one of the girls I knew for a while, she was in AA. She's trying to pull me in. AA still got me like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, ugh. And she's like, dude, you have to tell her this. You have to.
Yeah.
Like you can't wait till the baby's born and be like, oh, look at my kid. So I told her that didn't go over well at all. And then once I got back into her life, things started going again. And then I started from the drinking, went back into drugs, and then the gambling started picking up.
Are you talking about like party drugs, or are you talking about like hard drugs? Okay.
Well, I mean, drugs are drugs, I think.
Well, I mean,
I wasn't doing heroin or G.
Yeah.
But it was just drugs and just partying. And then it was crazy because it got to a point, and I'll never forget this, like I could see it like it was yesterday. I was laying, and now I'm away from the girl that was drinking she's like separated from me. I'm now with my son's mom, who I'm with today. And we're laying in bed, and it's the morning, and she starts crying out of nowhere. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why are you crying? And she goes, I just don't understand why you're doing this. And I said, doing what? And she said, you're going to go back to prison. And you're going to go back for a long time. My son has been born at this point. So we're fast forwarding a little bit. He's about 2 years old at this time. And she's like, do you not want to be there for your son growing up? Like, are you serious? Are you going to do this to us? And I was like, at the time when you're going on a sick one, you don't think like that. You think you're invincible, right? Yep. You just do. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but you're being stupid. Stop jinxing me, for one, and two, stop being like this. And she's like, I'm just telling you, I know what's going to happen here. And I didn't listen. And 6 months later, I picked up new charges, and they're looking to put me away for 20 years.
What was the new charges?
Burglaries.
Again, okay.
Yeah, they got me on just... I was told on by a couple people that tipped the cops off, the detectives, and then there was a whole case against me in Scottsdale where they were following me, and it was a whole big ordeal.
Yeah.
But that was like the end of the end, and I got bonded out by my parents. They finally arrested me. I got
How
bottomed
were your
out.
parents through this whole thing, right? 'Cause, like you know, you went to prison the first time, and you still went back to
Yeah,
your
and
dad
I'm trying
after.
to cover myself at the time. Like you know, here I am. I made this remarkable comeback for years, and this is about 5 years out now, mind you. I've been out, and they're like, "What is going on? You know, this seems a little bit too familiar here."
Yeah.
Like, and I'm trying to play it off like, "Mom, I'm being set up," you know, and like this is, and enough to where she's like, "I'll bail you out."
Yeah.
You know, my dad got me a lawyer, a paid lawyer, but at that point, Arizona has that truth in sentencing. There's like 3 or 4 states left.
Yeah.
That do that. So I got roped. I was getting arrested for burglaries.
Explain what rope is for people who don't know.
It's a repeat offender program.
Yep.
So if you go out and you commit a crime, like I did, I had 3 burglaries the first time, and then I get out, I go to prison, I get out, and I commit 3 more burglaries, or even 1.
Yeah.
You're going to get roped. It's mandatory prison sentencing at this point.
Yeah.
The judge has nothing to do with your sentencing.
And it's also usually the aggravated sentence,
yes,
right?
It's
so
aggravated.
Like in Arizona, we'll have, like, for a burglary, the mitigated is, if it's an F2, the mitigated is 5 years. Presumptive is 7 years, right? Or maybe mitigated is 3 years, presumptive is 5 years, and then aggravated is 7 years. But then there's like an aggravated max that's like 8.5, I think, which is even. I've been out so long now. I'm starting to.
No, that's about it. Because they super max aggravated my sentence is what happened.
Yeah, and that's that's what happens when you get roped. They'll give you the aggravated max or whatever it is, and you have no chance of getting the mitigated. Like you can get all the letters you want.
Yeah,
the pastor can come speak on your behalf. Like Jesus could step into the courtroom, and you're not. The judge isn't hearing it. You're getting the aggravated max.
Those people are they're brutal, man. Those
and I don't
prosecutors.
Know, is that specific to Maricopa County, the roping program, or is that
that's the whole state?
Is the whole state? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure about that, but I've seen people get roped and get, you know, one guy might get 5 years for a burglary, but I've seen people get 15 to 20 for a burglary because they're underneath the rope program, and they're like, oh, you didn't learn your lesson the first time. Well, we're gonna aggravate a max, and then we're gonna run all the sentences bow-legged, which is consecutive, not concurrent sentences. So
yeah. And that's what they did with me. I mean, we kind of live in a cookie-cutter justice system right now, where I feel like they need to take into consideration a lot more things.
Yeah.
And be able to have the judge needs to have more leniency on what sentences are brought forth, because the judge that's online, he's like, you know, I'm hearing you and I understand. I see people all day long. I sentence people, but I can't do anything about it because the rope program is the prosecutors. They're the ones that pretty much do the sentencing, and even one of the DOs at DO's detention, it's jail.
Detention officers.
So he said when I was walking into court the one morning, he's like, I don't know why you paid for a lawyer. You're in rope court, dude. You're not getting in.
Oh, do they have a separate court for rope court?
Well, I mean, it's a separate. You get a pink file, is what they call it.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, because the first time I went to court on the one of those court dates, you know, you have several of them. The guy next to me, he's like, "Oh, dude, you got a pink folder." And I said, "What the hell does that mean?" He goes, "You're screwed, dude." I was like, "Oh no."
Oh, wow.
Dude, let's real quick. I'd like to talk about for the audience to paint a picture of Maricopa County Jail, because that's where you are right now when you're talking about this. I did 13 months there, and those were the worst 13 months of my life. I've seen people do 2 or 3 years there before. Our friend did, he did 5 years in Maricopa County Jail, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you're talking about going to court. So for the audience, you know, when you're in jail, not prison, court, take us through like what court looks like.
Oh man, it's an ordeal.
Start in the morning when they,
oh my God.
when they wake us up.
Yeah, so you get about 2 hours sleep, and they're next thing you know, they're like court, and they're like razors. You know, they give everyone a razor to shave this single blade thing that's just gonna cut the hell out of your face.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, and there's like 10 people crowded in trying to shave.
Yeah.
And it's just a nightmare. And then you go from there. They send you out in the center area outside your pod, and you have to wait, and they chain you up, and they take you over to the bigger room now. Now you got the whole freaking jail system that's going to court in this one room, and you're sitting there for, it seems like eternity.
Hours.
Is that mixed women and men?
No,
men.
Oh.
But you can sometimes see the women. Remember they would like, what's it called? The shoe or not the shoe?
Oh, yeah, that's...
the horseshoe.
When were you in jail? That was a long time ago.
2008.
Oh, no, that's not too long ago.
Yeah, it was 2008. Oh, that's...
'Cause they already built LBJ, right?
That's where I did my 13 months was LBJ.
Okay.
Yeah, but when we went to court, we would go from Lower
Yeah.
Buckeye Jail to the Horseshoe, right? Or the Matrix is what they called it.
They send you under the tunnel.
You go under the tunnel. You walk underground. There's a tunnel that goes underneath.
Literally under the streets.
Yeah, it's under the streets. You can hear like cars above you, and
wow.
yeah, it's like a whole day of moving around in chains. And then the crazy thing with Maricopa County is you'll go to like 9 or 10 court hearings, and the judge doesn't say anything. They'll just look at your face. They'll read a number, and they'll be like, okay, next we're going to schedule a date for pretrial hearings, 3 months away. You're like, okay, so what do I do for the next 3 months? Just sit and wait. And so that's why jail is horrible, because you're just sitting around waiting for nothing.
And you just want to go.
You just want to go to prison. That's all you want to do is just go to prison at that point. It's so bad.
So when is arraignment? That's when you first get arrested, right? And they go over your charges and what the...
The night or day whenever you get arrested, you go into that court.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they decide, are you going to get released?
What do they call
OR?
OR.
Yeah.
If you get released on your own recognizance. If you don't get OR'd, then you're going to jail with a bond.
Yeah. So you go either right or left.
Yeah.
You're hoping to God you go right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've crossed my fingers. I'm like, please release me.
Go right, please.
And you know when the judge is not in a good mood and he's not releasing people, and you're just like, but once you go to jail, then there's no more chance of getting the OR. You're in jail. And Maricopa County, I mean, you were there when Sheriff Joe, the infamous Sheriff Joe, was sheriff, and you were there for the pink underwear.
Yep.
Was it pink socks, maybe?
Yeah, everything was pink.
Pink
Pink
cuffs.
sheets. Was it pink? It was pink cuffs, yeah.
Yep.
I remember I got myself a pair, and
did you?
DOC was like, "Yeah, we're not Maricopa County. We don't use those."
They probably worth money.
Yeah, probably. Did you ever do it for court sometimes? Because court was such a big ordeal, and they would take you at 4 a.m. You wouldn't get home till like 4 or 5 at night.
Yeah.
Or not home, but back to your cell. And sometimes they would have what they call dry runs.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than a dry run.
There isn't. You come back and you're like, dude, dry run, and you just want to kill people.
Dude, you want to literally like kill people.
Yeah.
It's a dry run is when you go to court and like the judge made a mistake and you weren't even on the docket. So you spent the whole day just like traveling around like the jail system, like in chains, like
Yeah.
Your ankles are sore as hell because you've walked a mile in these chains, like.
It's like shackles where you're shackled to other people.
Yeah.
Too, right?
You're
So if
shackled.
you got some idiot in front of you that doesn't know how to walk in chains, you're screwed.
Yep.
You're like, dude.
Dude, I had one dry run. It was the worst day of my life. And yeah, like you said, like you want to hurt people. Like when you're done, like that's why jail is so much more dangerous than prison because people are so much angrier and they don't know when they're getting out. They don't know how long they're getting. And jail is just like it's.
And they're fresh coming off of drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a very volatile place. I got more fights in jail, I think, than I did in prison.
That's what. I got in probably 9-10 fights in jail and maybe
ridiculous.
1 or 2 in prison.
Yeah.
Maybe if that because. Prison's not, nearly as bad as jail. But I'm sorry, we got way off. Talking about Sheriff Joe's Maricopa County.
No, that's a big part of it, the whole process. It's like you want to get done with county so bad. It's just like, what is the plea? Just give it to me.
Right.
And that's where they win, I think. And I think they're trying to change that, You get fed 2 meals. It's a peanut butter sandwich in the morning and then some slop that you don't even want to touch.
Right.
And at night, and you're starving the whole time in there.
Yeah.
And you're coming off of drugs. Your body's just fiending for nutrition. It's horrible. It's like the worst thing. And so people sign away their lives without having to be able to fight because they don't want to fight because they're so tired of being in jail.
Yeah.
And
you just want to get to prison. Like, you'll do almost anything to get to prison.
Yeah.
Do you guys get anything like commissary?
Yeah, you get commissary.
Yeah.
Like,
it's expensive.
What about store? Like, CD players, earbuds, TVs, anything like that?
No, you can buy the shoes. You can buy deck shoes. Remember those?
And the peanut radios they had for a while. I don't know if this.
I don't know if they.
I remember the peanut radios.
I don't think they had those when I was in 2008. I don't think so. But commissary, like you were saying, it's more expensive. It's not as common. Like in prison, commissary is everywhere.
Yeah, every day or every week you get it.
Yeah, in jail, a lot of people are more. It seems like people are more broke in jail, or like the economy is a lot worse in county jail than it is in prison. So
what do you guys like? You play poker and whatnot.
Yeah, we play
county,
poker in
right?
jail.
What do you guys gamble?
Commissary. Yeah. But people would gamble like trays, milks,
trays.
donuts. Were you there for the greasy donuts? They used to come on the dinner trays. They were just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and the plain cake.
Yeah, they were these horrible donuts. And what people would do is they would take like the toilet paper roll, the brown part, and then put the donut on top of it and let it sit for 2 hours, and then all the grease from the donut would travel down the toilet paper roll, and that way, like when you go to eat the donut, the grease isn't in it, so you wouldn't get as much grease. And you don't remember that? Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. I remember they don't have any heaters in there, like stingers.
Yeah.
So we would have to make our top ramen soups out of the shower water. You get a bag from commissary, a clear one. You put your soup in there, and you'd be in the shower filling it up. And you're like, this is horrible.
Wow.
And the showers only stayed on. And so another thing, too, like a common misconception in the movies is that, you're showering in these big open showers, and there's nuts and butts everywhere. That's not how prison is. But county... The showers are out, at least in Lower Buckeye Jail they are.
So they're half and half, I think, because I had one where they had curtains, and I've been
really?
Where they don't, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and the pod I was in, like, you would just shower out almost in the open, kind of, and that was the only time that people shower. And you'd have to press the button every, like, 30 seconds, or every 15 seconds. You'd have to keep sitting there. You get soap in your eyes, and the water goes off.
So people hurry up is why they do it, I think.
Yeah.
Is the water cold or hot?
Cold, I think, I can't, warm. I think it would get warm sometimes if... County sucks.
It does. So that's why you're signing pleas to get to prison.
Yeah.
By the time I got there, and I was already just like, I felt so defeated. Like I knew what I was facing, 12 to 20, somewhere in between there.
That's what they offered you was 12 to 20?
They said, we'll give you 12 if you sign this, but we're going to go ahead and let you go home and wrap up whatever you need to do because you're going away for a long time. So... take care of what you need to take care of. In 3 weeks, come back in here and be prepared to be going to jail.
Yeah.
For like a long time, and then to prison. So I should have taken that deal, and I didn't. I got out and I did the opposite. I got even more messed up.
You got out? Oh, you bonded.
Well, I was already out. Excuse me. I was out, and I just decided, like, I'm just at this point beyond, like.
Yeah, you knew you were going to prison.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it. Even 10 years of your life, if you could sit there and think, 10 years, I'm not going to be around anyone. My family, nothing. I'm going to be non-existent in society. That's enough to make you crazy, like a little bit. And I lost it, like mentally. I was just like, I was doing anything and everything people had. I was just on the sick one. And it came the day that I needed to show up for court, my son's mom was in the car with my son and her other son that she had. And she's like, let's go. And I said, nope, I'm not going. I've been up all night. I said, I'm not going. She goes, what do you mean you're not going? Let's go. We had a going away party for you and everything. We need to go. You're going to take this 12-year plea. I said, no, I'm not. I'm taking this to trial. And she's like, you're an idiot, dude. And she said, are you serious? And I said, yeah, I'm not going. And I called my lawyer and said, I'm not showing up. I'm going to take it to trial. And my lawyer's like, what are you doing, dude? And looking back at it now, I'm like, why didn't I do that? I would have been out like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, 4 years earlier. And I just didn't. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was fear of having to go away or if it was just like, could I beat this? Because the evidence was kind of, but it was pretty strong. So, so I didn't go. I ended up picking up another felony within those 3 week period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Another burglary?
Yeah, and they caught me this time.
Like caught you in it?
Well, they caught me. I was in. It was funny. It's not funny, but the joke in my house now is like, Dad just went out to get some milk. He never came home. my son, who's 17 years old now, is like, Dad, do not ever tell me you're going to get milk. I'm like, okay, why? And he told me the story that's what they told him.
Yeah.
And that was like the thing. So I went out and it was crazy because my son's mom's like, I have a bad feeling, dude. Do not do anything stupid, please. I took her car, mind you. And I said, no, I got like $50. I'm going to go to the casino and see what I can do. I'll be back in a few minutes. And then I blew that $50 in less than 5 minutes. Went to North Scottsdale.
Talking stick? Oh, okay.
I was in Scottsdale already, so yeah, I'm cruising up. I'm like, shit, I'm going to prison. I need money. What am I going to do? I'm freaking out again. And I go into a house, I knock on the door, blah, 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 do the whole thing. Nobody answers. There's a dog barking in there. So I go in thinking nobody's there. It's Sunday.
Yeah.
And I put the dog, like, it was a German Shepherd, didn't even bite me. Like, it just, and then I put it aside, like, locked it in this cage, and I went through the house, and they had just got married. And I was like, oh, man. Because I was like one of those people that did that had a conscience. I hated that.
Yeah.
And so then I went in there and got whatever, and then bailed, and they were in there the whole time in one of the only bedroom I did not go into.
And they knew you were there?
Yes, and they were just, poor couple was scared to death, I guess.
Oh my God.
Stuck in there. And I left in her car, and I parked it down the street, so I walked out, and I didn't have a bunch of stuff. I'm going down the 101, and I see a helicopter. I'm like, dang, man, that helicopter, what are they doing, you know?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I see a cop car coming down the 101 pretty fast. I'm like, man, they're after somebody. You know? And not even thinking, you know, I mean, it's me, you know? So I'm like, then I started thinking, man, they are coming up close on me. So I go over to the next lane. And they move over to the next lane. I go, oh no. And I go to the next lane. They move over. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So then I exit off the next exit that I can go, and they're right behind me. And they pull up behind, and there was one moment. At that moment, I could have gone because there was a bus coming, right? Mm-hmm. And I could have turned this whole thing into a chase.
Yeah.
And try to get away. Bought some, few weeks or whatever. And
hours.
Yeah.
If that.
And at that split second, I just was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with all this. I'm so done with all this. And I just pulled over. They're like, get out of the car. We know it's you that did this, and search it. And I said, yeah. I just put my hands up, and I was done. Literally done.
Yeah.
And I felt like this peace within me. Like, man, this is finally over. You know what I mean? Like, it's over. And so I went to jail and then did the whole time in county, shipped off to prison. And everything was such a blur, and nothing was comprehending to me that the amount of time that I was going to be in there.
Right.
I didn't want to face that reality. And there was people, I remember when they call you out, remember when you're going to prison, they're like, they call people out, you go out there and wait, and you're going to take the bus to prison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at county. And they called my name, and this OG guy, he goes, you realize what you're facing right now, right? And I said, yeah, I'm going to prison. He goes, you realize how long you're going to prison for, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this? And at that moment, I was like, oh, I'm not ready for this. Fuck.
Yeah.
You know, sorry my language, but.
No, you're good.
So it was just, it started to dawn on me there. I got sent to Buckeye.
Yeah. What yard did you go to?
Steiner.
Yeah, I was on Steiner in 2010, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably.
I was there then.
I was in Building 6, the workers' building.
By the Swift side?
Yeah. I was,
okay.
well, yeah, with all the Swift guys.
I was on the other side.
Okay, yeah, I never went, I was in Building 4 once and then Building 6 the rest of the time. But,
okay.
Yeah, I liked Steiner.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, the day I showed up, they're like, hey, bro, just so you know, there might be some tension. Some dude got his eyeball kicked out of his head. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah,
oh my gosh.
Just, you know, want you to be aware.
Yeah. Steiner had a reputation for a long time for being like the 3-yard. Like it was the 3-yard in Arizona. And that's actually about when you and I were there, probably right around like 2010. It's when it was kind of crazy. But I stuck to myself. I had a job. I worked at the wood shop.
Oh, okay,
yeah. I used to make furniture at the wood shop, and I worked out, and I read books, and I stuck to myself, and I was in there with some good OGs that kind of just, you know, kept an eye on me, made sure I didn't get in no trouble.
Yeah.
My time was easy there. I know it sounds crazy, I liked the more dangerous yards, because everybody just kind of follows the rules, because nobody's trying to get hurt.
Right.
So it's the minimum yards where people will be acting crazy. But on like the higher yards, they're all kind of, everybody just follows the rules and does, you know, for the most part, what they're supposed to be. Every now and then, you know what I mean, it gets crazy. But
yeah, the structure on the higher yards is much better than the minimum yard. Because the minimum yards, bunch of knuckleheads. They think, oh, it's cool to be in prison, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not, and they're trying to, oh, I heard this from my uncle that you got to do this, and it's not even like that. You go to the higher yard, just like the police politics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's so stupid. But yeah, I went to Steiner, and then I was. It was something you had said in one of your podcasts before that. When I watched it, I was like, man, that kind of reminds me of myself. When you said, you can go into prison, you can chill. You can be one of those dudes that keeps himself. You don't have to get involved in anything. You can read your books, do whatever. And just stay away from everybody.
Yeah.
And that is the case, you know?
People argue with me on my channel about that all the time.
No, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, they'll literally be like, no, you can't. I'm like, okay.
No. I mean, obviously, if there's a big riot that's going to pop up, you better get out there.
But other than a riot,
yeah.
right? That's really about it. A riot is the only time like you are expected to act unless you are affiliated.
Yes.
Once you become affiliated, then you know that's a whole different world. But I never got into that world. I was never affiliated. I never wanted to be, affiliated. So
that's one of the crazy things about my story of going through all this, because I was like, at first I started that way. I was like, I'm just gonna keep to myself, I got all this time, and I couldn't. I'm like, I'm not that person. I'm a very outgoing person, and I can't do that. And so, how do I do this without getting myself affiliated?
Yeah.
And getting myself where I could get more time easily.
Right.
I'm going to get shipped up to a 5-yard by the, And so I kind of strategically started figuring things out in prison. Prison's almost like a Big Brother or a reality show. It's very, it is. No, you're right. Yep. It's like, who are we going to vote off the island today? So you have to align yourself with the right people, right?
Yep.
And all that is so high schoolish, like the.
You're 100% like you nailed you hit the nail on the head, right? That's 100%. It's so much drama, childlike behavior, and even for me, like I say that on my channel about like you can stick to yourself. That's not what I did either. When I was in prison, I was playing poker. I was telemarketing. I had a ton of friends. I was always out moving around. But you could stick to yourself, and like I did. I read a lot of books. I did, for the most part. I stayed out of the drama, but I had a lot of friends in there. I worked out, and I would always be out, moving around the yard. And I imagine you're probably the same, right?
And I once I started getting like into the little groove of it and figuring things out, because the prior sentence that I did, it wasn't long enough. I didn't really learn much in that. I wasn't there long enough, but. This one I had to figure it out quick because it was going to be a long time.
What did you get sentenced to the second time?
16 years.
So 16 years, and you have to do 85% of that. So what's that, like 13, 14?
Yeah, almost 14. Yeah. And I went on during my prison sentence. It was a rocky road. I wasn't a model inmate at times.
Yeah.
But I started out, and then I was like, I can't do this. This is going to be boring. I'm going to just end up killing myself, And so I knew that I need to find a routine.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to survive prison. Anybody that's going to prison or possibly find a routine. That's what's going to make your time go fast.
Yep.
There. And so working out is a routine. Going to classes and working.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's your day. And you will fall into that, and your time will just start.
Yeah. But you can also have a bad routine too, right? Like some people get into the bad routines gambling, just like you were talking about, but you were doing it on the streets. A lot of people gamble in prison, they get into a lot. Some people can responsibly. Like I played poker in prison for years, and I never got into trouble doing it. Some people get into a lot of trouble gambling in prison, though.
Yeah.
Once you get into that level of trouble, if you're 2 years into your 15, 16-year sentence, it'll mess up the rest of your sentence.
Yep.
It'll throw your whole... You can't get into that kind of trouble early on, or it'll literally taint the rest of your sentence, and you'll have to deal with the consequences.
Because most people, when they get in that debt, what do? Pew!
Yeah, they
and
PC up.
Created that problem.
Yeah, they PC up, and then they just get moved somewhere else. And they're like, yo, weren't you in debt $500 to the white boys over on such and such yard, or whatever the amount, you know what I mean? And then it's a massive problem in there now, and I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what they're doing about now, but
it's different now. I've heard stories now how
I mean, when I first came in 2004, I'd never even heard of the word checking in. I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
That wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
like you fought or you know what I mean? Like there's no checking in.
Well, there used to be that rule.
Yard,
what was the rule? Hands laid, debt paid.
Yeah.
That used to be a rule back in the day. That means if somebody owes you $100 and then you fight them, they don't owe you anymore. Which is a stupid rule too, but
I mean, it's cool for the guy who owes it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Even if he loses the fight, he's like, I don't owe you anymore.
But yeah, and then I went away. I did that time, and I come back, and it's like all this 8:05 checking in PC. Yep. I'm like, what the?
Yeah, when I worked there was at least 1 or 2 people every day.
Oh yeah.
Dude, at least.
At least.
On Whetstone?
Yeah.
At least. Dude, 5 a day.
Yeah.
So Whetstone for the audience is a massive minimum security yard here in Arizona. One of the biggest probably. And that's where all of us, we were all there. And dude, 5 people every day go into protective custody off of that yard. It's crazy. That yard it's just too big.
It is way too big.
It's too big.
It's not separated like a lot of the yards will separate them 500 and 500.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whetstone's just a giant cluster.
Everybody
it's like a swap meet every day. People walking up and down the street.
1,100 people on one yard. 1,100. That's how many's on Whetstone.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is too much.
So I went from Steiner to Whetstone, and I remember looking out to the yard and like just seeing the sheer size of it, and I was just like,
yeah.
And I came from Steiner, right? To go, and I'm going to a minimum, and I remember looking at it, and I was kind of like not scared, but like just like anxiety because of how big it was.
Yeah.
It's so big. It's like it's like multiple football fields of just, and then like a sea of orange, like just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inmates. And you're just like, and my OCD, like I just had like bad anxiety. It wasn't like I was scared. I just was like, I just didn't, I don't want to be here. I ended up liking the yard later because of, because there's so much you can do there.
Yeah. But at first you're like, no, dude.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah. It was too much to process. I was the same
exact way.
Yeah, it's too much to process.
It looks like a giant plane hangar to me.
Yeah,
the way it is, like that middle section, and then you got the buildings on the side, like they were pulled planes in.
Yep. Like an airport. Yeah, it's like an airport. It's so big.
So I went there, and I got in a little trouble at Steiner. Won't go into that. Got sent to Cimarron in Tucson, where I ended up staying there 8 years.
Oh, wow.
They tried to move me a few times, but I had some medical issues, so I had a medical hold.
What is Cimarron? Is that a 3?
It's a 3-4.
Okay.
So Cimarron, just to give you a picture, is like the misfit island of all bad.
That's a great way to describe Cimarron.
I've never been to Cimarron.
Yeah.
You've been to Cimarron.
Yeah,
right?
I worked there quite a few times.
I've heard of it, obviously. Everybody in Tucson's heard of Cimarron, but I've never been there.
It's like the political yard of the state, probably.
Oh, really?
Because of what's going on there, which I won't go into. But it's pretty severe.
Is Cimarron the place where the guy got his head smashed in the door and he died a couple, like in 15, I think, or something like that. Is that or is that Rincon?
No, that was
Cimarron.
That's Cimarron. Okay, yeah. I remember I was in for that, and I remember that was right before I got out. And...
Oh yeah, I was there when that happened, but that was horrible. We were locked down for hard lockdown for months.
Yeah, well, I don't think they were trying to kill the guy.
I don't know. We're not going to speak of it. But yeah, so Cimarron was cell living, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, if you have to do time, cell living is the best. Because you can go away from everybody and just go in your cell and shut the door. You could read. Like, I've read more books in prison than I ever have. Yeah. And I went to school. I got, I was like, I'm taking advantage of this time, Yeah. I'm taking everything that they have, and I'm taking it, and I'm going to use it from when I get out. However which way it is, but I'm going to do that. And I did. And I went to school and did that. But Cimarron was a trip because it was just like all the people that ran yards at other yards, they all ended up, boom, right there.
Oh.
So you're in the mecca of just like, and nobody wanted the yard. It was so funny. They're like, dude, I do not want this yard. I don't want it either.
So for the audience as well, just to clarify. So, and I don't know if you know this, but most of our audience are not people who've been to prison. They're not, they're not corrections officers. They're like, just regular people, like citizens, civilians, right? So
just curious about prison.
When you say so when he says, nobody wants the yard, that means nobody wants the keys, right? As they call it in the movies. Nobody and I don't think I've ever heard that expression actually in prison.
What,
like, who has the keys? Like
I've heard that.
I don't think, I like in the movie, what's the movie?
Shot Caller.
Shot Caller, when he's like, when he walks onto like it's like a 5-yard. He walks in, he's like, "Who's got the keys here?" Like you would never. First of all, you don't do that. You don't just walk in and ask who has the keys. They're like, "Are you a cop?" Bro?
Yeah, exactly. Beat this dude up and send him on his way.
Why are you asking so many
You
questions?
never want to ask that
You
question.
never ask that question.
Who's running this ship?
Yeah, but so nobody wants the yard means. Right. Nobody wants to run it. Nobody wants to be in charge.
Everybody's already done that at other yards. They're like tired of it because it's a lot, dude. And, and they don't want to. Nobody wants the trouble because you got SSU on you, which is I'm sure you've explained SSU, but
kind of SSU is they're the detectives. They're detectives for anybody. Who
they're there to watch the what's really going on inside.
Yeah. What does SSU stand for, by the way? Secret Service Unit or
no?
Security.
I don't know.
I've tried to figure this out so many times.
Yeah, I've never known it.
I knew it too. I know.
I don't even know what STG stands for.
Security Tactical Group.
No, STG is your gang stuff.
Yeah, it's your gang. Security
Threat Group or Security
Threat Group could be it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
I don't know.
But that's SSU.
You know who we could ask is
you know Santino, who works down the hall from us, was a corrections officer for like 14 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's the insurance guy a couple of offices down from us. He was an officer for like 14 years.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have to figure out
what all the definitions mean.
Yeah, because I can't remember. It's been so long.
Well, SSU at Cimarron's always busy.
Yeah.
A lot going on there. So, yeah.